So what they say my warrant for?
So your warrant is for a failure to appear. Dispatch is gonna call in and make sure it's still valid.
Failure to appear where? I didn't have no court dates.
It's for DUI out of Pickens County.
Out of Pickens County?
32. Could you go ahead and confirm that warrant?
The only DUI, I had a suspicion of a DUI a long time ago, and it was dismissed, so I don't know.
Whispers grew louder, the screens lit up, and the internet couldn't stop talking. Everywhere you turned, there was one claim running wild. King Harris had miraculously woken up after a brutal attack inside jail. Nothing was confirmed, no official word was out, but the way the story spread made it feel almost undeniable. Witnesses claimed they saw
Man, Pickens County. I don't even know what Pickens County is. So I'm confused.
Where was your DUI?
Jasper.
Jasper, is that a city or county?
County.
saw T.I. outside the hospital, his head bowed, tears streaming, begging for his son's life. Fans said the look in his eyes wasn't of a celebrity, not of a man worried about public image, but of a father, helpless and broken in the cold night air. The drama didn't just start here, though. For months, maybe years, King's journey had been tangled in mistakes, pride, and headlines. People remembered the messy traffic stops, the viral live streams where emotions boiled over, the stage moments where instead of applause there were boos and laughter. All those things felt like scattered puzzle pieces. And now, in the hospital lights, people were fitting them together, saying this was the picture they had been building toward all along. Some called it karma, others called it tragedy, but almost everyone agreed. The weight of it all was falling directly on T.I.'s shoulders. The atmosphere around the hospital was described as eerie. Heavy security, silence from staff, and shadows moving strangely in the night. One bystander swore they saw masked figures lingering across the street, as if someone wanted to keep eyes on what was happening inside. Another claimed they overheard a rushed phone call. Instructions whispered like orders being carried out. No proof. Just stories passed from one timeline to another, reposted until they became part of the legend. And always the same question followed. If cameras inside the jail
know exactly how it's going to turn out.
Hey, I don't want y'all to check the car.
I can't hear you.
I don't want y'all to search the car.
Well, I understand that, but if I smell weed, that's probable cause to search the vehicle.
You're not gonna find them.
really stopped working at the exact moment of the attack? Who turned them off? Coincidence, cover-up, or just internet imagination? No one had the answer, but the speculation refused to die. Then, as the night stretched into morning, came the line that changed everything. He woke up. 3 words, repeated again and again, enough to give hope where there was only fear. Posts flooded in. Thank God. Prayers answered. He's a fighter. Fans who had criticized him just days earlier suddenly switched sides, reminding everyone that behind the headline,
Great.
What I would appreciate more than anything right now is to be able to make a phone call. So when we get there, it can already be figured
To
out.
who? Who you trying to make a phone call
I'm
to?
trying to make a phone call.
headlines and the attitude, there was still a young man fighting to live. But the doubt remained too. Who first said it? Was it a nurse, a family member, a friend, or just another anonymous page trying to stir things up? The internet rarely cared. Once the phrase caught fire, it spread like truth. Old clips started resurfacing. T.I.'s 2022 live stream where he warned, "Time will be his teacher." That moment at the Falcons game when father and son clashed publicly, with millions watching. The Waffle House blow-up where King shouted at staff over something small. The gun-heavy video shoot that had parents stepping in on camera. Each of these scenes was now being replayed with new meaning. People wrote, he was writing his story long ago. The signs were there. This was always where it was headed. Every stumble became a prophecy fulfilled, and fans felt like they were part of a Greek tragedy unfolding in real time. Fans, though, pushed back. They argued that growing up under a spotlight was its own curse. They reminded others that mistakes hit harder when millions are watching. One person wrote, "Any 20-year-old makes dumb decisions. The difference is the world isn't waiting to record mine. Still, the louder
DJ Academics gave probably the most brutal but accurate commentary on the whole situation.
In reality, he got arrested for a failure to appear ticket for a traffic violation. So they arrested him. But we know this is King, so we're just gonna call it that. They locked him up for.
Their voices drowned them out, hungry for more drama. They wanted villains and heroes, betrayal and redemption, and the hospital saga gave them all of it at once. Tiny, King's mother, was said to be posting prayers online, her voice shaking through short videos. Close family friends allegedly reached out quietly, asking people to stop turning it into gossip. And somewhere in the chaos, a relative reportedly said, "A family only survives when they sit in silence together." Yet silence was impossible. Every hour, new threads opened, new hashtags trended, new rumors were added to the pile. Fans demanded to know what really happened in that jail, who was behind it, and why a young man with every privilege still ended up on a hospital bed fighting for his
Viral memes.
I'm so puzzled why King feels the desire, need, want to be considered a street dude that badly. Why is he so obsessed with the struggle, with the life of being a street dude? Street dudes ain't really winning.
Silver spoon, I ain't never ate with that day a day in my life.
Nigga, you did have a silver spoon.
Look, I used to have to come to my grandma's house because I'm getting in the fight.
You act like a baby to go to your grandma's house.
Every day.
You used to hold your breath
Every
and
day.
no tantrums to go over there.
I don't want to be in these gates. I want to be outside in the neighborhood.
Over there. Y'all ready? Cause he can suck and pacify over there. He was 12 years old. He was sucking pacify till he was 12 years old. He couldn't do that in the house.
He cried like a baby. Hold his breath.
Yeah.
They trying to say I was over there trying to suck up.
Don't play with people's kids now.
He talking about, hey, come on, man. What? Come on, bro.
King said
You talking about King
TIP,
TIP, son?
Yes.
for his life. And then came the stories of T.I. himself outside the hospital. People swore they saw him with hands clasped tight, whispering prayers into the cold air. Someone online wrote, "When a father cries, every other voice goes quiet." Another posted, "That was the moment ego died and love spoke." Whether these were true accounts or just imagined narratives didn't matter. What mattered was the picture forming in people's minds.
With the T.I. situation, if he did that, you're a fucking rat too. I don't spare no motherfucking body. Because if you doing anything wrong, you doing anything criminal-wise, and you cooperate with law enforcement to get you out of trouble, that means you're cooperating, that means you're a rat.
Tell me. It been 20 years, bro. It been 20 years. I figure if I wasn't built like that, it'll show by now. It been 20 years, bro. I done faced every challenge motherfucking that life could throw at me, man. You ain't seen me fold, you ain't seen me break down. I ain't one of you niggas who done been to the penitentiary before, man. What happened when a motherfucker say somebody ain't right and they goddamn show their paperwork and they is right? What's the penalty for that? Can somebody tell me what is that punishable by? Somebody tell me that.
But I'm gonna tell you like this, when I saw that, I think T.I. fucking lying. With the T.I. situation, if he did that, you're a fucking rat too. I don't spare no motherfucking body. Because if you doing anything wrong, you doing anything criminal-wise, and you cooperate with law enforcement to get you out of trouble, that means you're cooperating, that means you're a rat.
Wait, you gone too fucking far, dog. That is a male. A 12-year-old. At 12, they don't even know what their next meal gonna be.
I live with my grandma. You know, we'll go to the house on like the weekend. They'll say, "Hey, we shooting today. We need y'all at the house." They'll come get me from my grandma's house. And right after we done,
A legendary rapper, once the king of the South, now just a desperate dad, broken by the sight of his son in a fragile state. That image hit harder than any rumor could. Added another layer of chaos. Old humiliations returned. Clips of King being booed, stumbling in interviews, arguing with comedians, even failing to spell simple words on podcasts. Memes turned these into ammunition, painting him as reckless, unprepared, even laughable. But in the shadow of the hospital story, some began to see them differently. Instead of comedy, they looked like warnings. One fan wrote, "He's not just messing up, "He's screaming for help." Another replied, "He wasn't listening to anyone." And now the streets taught him the hardest lesson. These clashing views created a storm of debate, with each side claiming the other didn't understand what was really at stake. Inside the hospital, reports painted a picture of tense quiet, machines humming, lights buzzing, and staff moving quickly but carefully. One rumor said a doctor's eyes carried exhaustion but hope. Another said a nurse offered only a small smile, like a silent reassurance. These small details became the lifeline for fans clinging to hope. If a smile slipped, maybe it meant recovery was real. If a glance showed worry, maybe the fight wasn't over. Every gesture, every wordless sign was treated like a coded message about his fate. Conversations outside turned into raw dialogue. One young man supposedly whispered, "Bro, just let him be okay." Then
I just made this offer to my boy Tootie. I'm gonna let the world know this offer. I told my dog all he gotta do is come to the gym with me, and I'm gonna get him set up with some veneers on me.
I don't wish it on him, you know what I'm saying? I don't wish it on him, and I love him through it. Whatever he going through, I love him through it. Much criticism as I receive about my son, I would like to shed light. Try to take the good with the bad, and just let him know, you go into prison if you keep it up.
everything else can be fixed. Another replied, "It's not just health, it's mindset that needs to change." A third added, "Mindset only changes when you wake up and see the truth for yourself." Someone else said, "When a person falls, that's when they finally understand how the air really feels." These weren't rehearsed speeches, just the murmurs of people caught in the gravity of the moment. Yet they spread online like powerful quotes, fuel for the larger story. Through it all, one thought echoed, where did it all go wrong? Some blamed fame, some blamed entitlement, some blamed bad influences. Others said it was just the painful process of growing up in public. One fan wrote, "Maybe the real failure wasn't him. Maybe it was us for watching like it was entertainment." But the next comment said, "No, he made his choices and now he's paying for them." The arguments piled up, but everyone circled back to the same haunting idea, that if he really had woken up, then his first embrace should be with his father. People pictured that moment vividly, as if it had already happened. A son opening his eyes, a father breaking down into tears, two men finally meeting as equals in their pain. Interview 608719. What made this story even heavier was the clash between public drama and private pain. The public wanted twists, memes, and headlines. The family wanted healing, peace, and silence. When those two forces collide, chaos is inevitable. Yet in the middle of all the noise, one word kept surfacing again and again: prayer. Fans, critics, strangers, even trolls. So many ended their posts with the same sentiment, that regardless of truth or rumor, they were sending prayers. Maybe that's what kept the story alive more than anything. Not just scandal, but the thin thread of humanity tying it all together. And so the night stretched on. Phones glowed, hearts raced, and timelines refreshed every few minutes. No one knew for sure what was real, but everyone felt part of the same unfolding drama. The hospital lights became the stage, the rumors became the script, and the world waited for the next act. As the hours passed, the frenzy only grew. Every second brought a new angle, a fresh theory, another blurry screenshot claiming to prove something no one could verify. Yet the one constant was the same. People swore King Harris had woken up. Some said he spoke a few words. Others insisted he just opened his eyes and squeezed his mother's hand. A few even added wild claims about him, whispering lines of regret, as if suddenly realizing the years of chaos had led him here. Whether any of it happened didn't matter. What mattered was that people believed it. And belief can be more powerful than fact in moments like this, public perception anymore. Reports described him pacing outside, refusing to leave the hospital grounds. One voice claimed they heard him mutter, "Lord, take everything I own. Just don't take my boy." That line alone spread across social media like fire, repeated in captions, reposted on reels, and painted as the ultimate sign of a father's desperation. Fans commented things like, "That's the real T.I." Not the rapper, not the king, just a dad. And money, fame, none of it matters when you're about to lose your child. The internet, usually cruel and mocking, showed a rare flash of empathy, but not everyone bought into the miracle narrative. Skeptics pushed back hard, calling it manufactured drama, a ploy for attention, or even a distraction from legal troubles. One blogger wrote, "Funny how the same cameras that caught every meltdown and every mugshot can't show us a single clip of this miracle recovery." Another tweeted, "So he just wakes up and suddenly the whole family is redeemed? Nah, it doesn't work like that." The tension between hope and suspicion created a storm, with every fan forced to pick a side. Interview 10-53-11-27 Inside the Family. The whispers said things were more complicated. Tiny, always the emotional anchor, was reportedly torn apart. She begged fans for prayers online, her voice cracking, while behind closed doors she allegedly demanded answers about how the jail could let this happen. Some claimed she clashed with T.I., accusing him of being too hard on King, of pushing him away when he needed guidance. In response, T.I. was said to snap back, arguing that tough love was the only chance to save his son from the streets. These supposed arguments painted a picture of a family divided, each parent believing they had done what was best, but both carrying the guilt of where their child ended up. Friends of the family also entered the conversation. A few rap peers were said to be quietly supportive, sending messages and prayers, but others stayed silent, wary of attaching themselves to a story so messy. Fans noticed who didn't post, who didn't send love publicly, and used that silence as fuel for gossip. "If they're not speaking up, maybe they know something we don't," one comment read. Another claimed, "This just proves the industry doesn't care. They only cheer when you're winning." The pressure of outside opinions made the private pain even harder to bear. Then came the rumors of betrayal. Some blogs suggested that the attack inside jail wasn't random, but a setup by people who wanted to send King a message. Others went further, claiming someone close to him had turned their back, feeding enemies the right time to strike. Though unverified, these theories thrived because they fit the drama fans expected. One post declared, "In the streets, reputation is blood in the water," and King was bleeding for years. Another added, "Sometimes the worst hits don't come from strangers. They come from the ones you thought were close." The narrative shifted again, from accident to conspiracy. In the middle of all this chaos, another twist surfaced. Talk of King's newborn child. Just months earlier, he had proudly welcomed a son and even dropped a track called "Dear Son." Fans replayed that moment now, comparing the pride of fatherhood to the humiliation of jail. One person wrote, "He brought a life into this world, but nearly lost his own before he even learned how to be a father." Another said, "Maybe this wake-up is about more than survival. Maybe it's about finally becoming the man his child needs." Whether romanticized or not, it added another emotional layer to an already heavy story. The streets, however, weren't convinced. According to some, King's attempts to prove himself as a street figure were exactly what led him here. Memes and comments mocked the idea of a privileged kid chasing a life that others were desperately trying to escape. He wanted to live the struggle. One viral post read, "Now the struggle came to collect." Critics argued that no amount of sympathy could erase the contradictions of someone born into wealth, trying to wear the scars of hardship. Fans of T.I. defended the family, saying growing up in luxury didn't mean growing up without pain. The back and forth highlighted a bigger cultural debate: credibility versus privilege, and the dangerous price of chasing the wrong kind of respect. As night turned into morning, fans began treating the hospital like a stage. Every new rumor was like a scene, every silence like a cliffhanger. Some swore they saw movement at the window, a shadow they were sure belonged to King himself. Others claimed they overheard nurses say, "He's stable." And yet, with every hopeful sign, there were equal whispers of danger. Masked figures outside, strange calls inside, enemies waiting for another chance. The hospital wasn't just a place of healing in these stories. It became the front line of a battle between survival and downfall. What made the moment so gripping was how easily it connected to the past. The Falcons game clash, the Waffle House rage, the gun videos, the pacifier scandal, the booze, the humiliations. All of them felt like warning shots building to this explosion. Fans couldn't resist drawing straight lines, saying, "We saw this coming. His father predicted this. He chose this path." But others argued it wasn't that simple. "This isn't a movie," one fan wrote. "This is a kid who needs help, not headlines." Still, in a world that thrives on spectacle, the truth mattered less than the story. And the story was gold. In those tense hours, it was said that T.I. sat down at one point, exhausted, broken, his head in his hands. One bystander claimed he whispered, "This ain't what I built for him." Another said Tiny placed a hand on his shoulder and quietly told him, "We can still save him." Whether real or imagined, these dialogues spread like wildfire, turning pain into poetry for millions of strangers watching from their phones. And that's the strange power of moments like this. Private grief becomes public theater, replayed and reinterpreted until no one remembers where it started. The family wasn't the only one under scrutiny. Fans also turned their eyes to Boozy, to old feuds, to the messy back and forth between families and sons. Some said Boozy's jokes and jabs had added fuel to King's spiral, making him desperate to prove himself. Others argued Boozy had nothing to do with it, and that blaming outsiders was just an excuse. Yet the narrative of betrayal and influence wouldn't die, because drama needs villains, and the internet always finds them. Through it all, one undeniable truth emerged. This wasn't just about one young man anymore. It had become a story about fatherhood, about legacy, about the thin line between privilege and ruin. T.I. was no longer just a rapper in this tale. He was the symbol of every parent who warned their child and watched them walk into the fire anyway. King wasn't just a troubled son. He was the face of a generation caught between wanting respect and losing themselves in the process. Fans weren't just spectators. They became judges, jurors, and narrators, shaping the story with every post and comment. And as the sun began to rise, casting a pale light over the hospital, the question hung heavier than ever. Was this really a miracle? Or just another chapter in a never-ending saga of chaos and pain? The morning light did not bring clarity. It only sharpened the confusion. As the sun rose, headlines multiplied, each one more dramatic than the last. Miracle recovery, jailhouse betrayal, family breakdown. The words blurred together until no one could tell what was real and what was rumor. But in that chaos, one thing stayed constant. The world wanted to know what was happening to King Harris, and they weren't going to look away. Inside the hospital, according to whispers, the air was thick with tension. Some claimed that King opened his eyes fully, groggy but alive, while others swore he drifted in and out, saying nothing at all. Still, the story being told outside was that of a young man given another chance. Fans seized on that narrative, writing long posts about redemption, about second chances, about how this moment could change him forever. One fan wrote, "Sometimes you gotta come face to face with death before you realize how precious life really is." Another added, "If he wakes up, he better not waste this gift." But lurking beneath the hope was suspicion. If he truly had woken, why was there no official confirmation? Why did the family stay silent except for vague pleas for prayers? Rumors spread that the silence wasn't by choice, but out of fear. Hospital staff, it was said, were under strict orders not to leak details. One story claimed masked men had been spotted again, moving closer to the hospital doors. A chilling reminder that danger wasn't confined to jail walls. People speculated about gang ties, old feuds, or simple jealousy. All of it rolled into one messy theory that King wasn't safe anywhere, not even in a hospital bed. Whether true or not, the narrative caught fire, because in the world of celebrity scandal, the darker the twist, the faster it spreads. The faster it spreads. For T.I., every hour was a test of faith. He was described as restless, pacing back and forth, occasionally leaning against the cold hospital wall, whispering prayers under his breath. Some claimed he snapped at reporters. Others said he refused to speak to anyone, too consumed by his own thoughts. But everyone agreed on one thing. He looked broken. The man who once stood tall as a king of the South was now just another father begging for his child's life. The internet latched onto that image, repeating it again and again. The toughest men break when their children fall. Tiny's role in the story was equally emotional. She was said to have broken down online, posting a simple plea, "Pray for my baby." Fans flooded her comments with hearts, prayers, and messages of support. But behind the scenes, the whispers said she was furious. Furious at the jail, furious at the system, and even furious at T.I. for not being softer when King first started spiraling. Alleged arguments between the couple were described in detail, Tiny accusing T.I. of pushing their son too far, T.I. defending his tough love as necessary. Whether these exchanges really happened didn't matter to fans. They wanted drama, and the image of parents clashing while their son fought for life was drama in its purest form. The family wasn't the only focus. King's baby mama was pulled into the spotlight again. Stories resurfaced about her alleged manipulation, accusations of money grabs, and rumors of her using their child as leverage. Some blogs claimed she tried to rush into the hospital demanding access, sparking new tensions with T.I. and Tiny. Others painted her as the one quietly supporting King when no one else did. The contradictions only fueled the fire, because in a story like this, people crave villains and heroes, and every new character becomes a candidate for either role. Then came the betrayal angle again. Certain posts insisted the attack was no random fight, but a message. One blog claimed King was targeted for trying to prove himself too loudly, stepping on the wrong toes inside. Another suggested it was orchestrated from outside, a payback for old arrogance and public taunts. And the most sinister theory claimed someone close to him had set it all up. Whether a friend, an associate, or even someone in the family, the idea of betrayal from within captured imaginations. Fans dissected old clips, body language, even past live streams, searching for hints of who could have betrayed him. "Look how he looked at him there," one fan wrote under a clip. "That's not a friend. That's a snake." Speculation turned every detail into evidence, weaving a conspiracy out of shadows. The music industry's reaction was just as divided. Some peers posted support, reminding fans that behind the drama was a young man and a family in pain. But others stayed silent, and that silence became its own headline. "Where are the rappers now?" fans asked. "Why aren't they standing with T.I.?" In the absence of public support, people assumed the worst, that maybe the industry had given up on King already. The whispers painted a picture of isolation, of a family standing alone against a storm too big to fight. Meanwhile, old humiliations continued to haunt King. Clips of his failures resurfaced daily, misspelled words, awkward interviews, stage boos. But this time they weren't just jokes. They were being reframed as tragic foreshadowing. "He was crying for help," one fan insisted. Nobody listened. Memes turned into warnings, and even those who mocked him before now spoke about wasted potential. In the cruel world of the internet, it was the closest thing to sympathy he had ever received. As all this unfolded, a new narrative began to take hold. Redemption. Fans started writing posts about how this could be his turning point, how surviving such a brutal chapter could finally make him see the truth. "If he really woke up, this is his chance," one post read. "But he can't just wake up physically, he needs to wake up mentally too." Others weren't so hopeful. "Too many chances wasted," one critic wrote. "Some people don't change." The clash between hope and cynicism became another layer of the story, keeping audiences glued to every update. Through it all, the hospital remained the center of the storm. People claimed to see movement at the windows, claimed to hear whispers from staff, claimed to spot new faces entering quietly. Every shadow became a sign, every silence became a clue. The hospital wasn't just a building anymore. It was the stage where a family's future was being rewritten in real time. And in that stage, T.I. remained the most watched figure. One supposed witness described him stepping outside, wiping his eyes and saying softly, "If he gets another chance, I'll never let him go astray again." Whether he said it or not, fans clung to the idea, because it gave the story something it desperately needed: hope. In the endless sea of rumors, betrayals, and speculation, that single line was enough to remind people why they cared in the first place. As the day dragged on, the frenzy outside the hospital reached a fever pitch. Fans gathered in groups, some holding homemade signs with messages of support, others just standing silently, waiting for any scrap of news. Reporters hovered at the edges, careful not to get too close but desperate to capture something, anything, that would feed the insatiable hunger of the public. Every passing hour without an official statement only added more fuel to the fire. Whispers turned into loud debates, and debates turned into trending hashtags. King Lives trended next to Justice for King, while darker corners of the internet spread hashtags like Karma Caught Him and Streets Don't Lie. Inside, the silence was suffocating. Stories circulated of doctors moving in and out with grim expressions, nurses exchanging worried glances, and family members huddling together in tense whispers. One supposed insider claimed King had spoken his first clear words since waking up, asking simply, "Where's my dad?" Whether true or not, the line spread like wildfire, reposted thousands of times with captions about love, regret, and family bonds. Fans clung to the idea of a son finally realizing what mattered most, even if it was just another rumor in a sea of speculation. The tension between T.I. and Tiny allegedly grew sharper with every passing hour. Some claimed Tiny broke down in tears, blaming the relentless chase for street credibility that had consumed her son. Others said T.I. snapped back, reminding her he had warned King long ago, telling her this was the very path he feared. One alleged argument was repeated across blogs, Tiny pleading, "He's still our baby," and T.I. responding coldly, "He wanted to be a man. Now the streets made him one." Whether those words were real or just invented by gossip sites, they painted a picture of parents divided, their grief pulling them apart instead of binding them together. Meanwhile, rumors of betrayal refused to die. One blog pushed the theory that the jail fight had been arranged, that someone wanted King silenced for good. Another claimed there were eyes watching even inside the hospital, making sure he didn't walk out alive. Shadowy figures supposedly spotted outside became part of the legend, their presence turning a family tragedy into a crime thriller in the minds of fans. People speculated endlessly. Was it enemies from the street, jealous peers, or even someone within the circle who stood to gain from King's downfall? The lack of answers made the questions louder. Fans and critics clashed online. Some argued King's story was proof of wasted privilege, that no matter how much money or support he had, he chose the wrong path. Others defended him, saying the pressure of growing up under a famous father's shadow had broken him before he even had a chance to stand on his own. One comment summed it up perfectly. He wasn't just fighting the streets, he was fighting his father's legacy, and that's a war no kid can win. The debate became bigger than King himself, a conversation about privilege, credibility, and the crushing weight of expectations. Amid the storm, King's newborn child became another focus. Fans imagined the child growing up, hearing about how close his father came to dying before he truly lived. Some romanticized it as a turning point, claiming the baby could be the reason King finally changed. Others mocked it, saying he was too deep in chaos to ever step up as a father. Every opinion, every prediction, became part of the unfolding saga. One fan wrote, "Maybe he didn't wake up for himself. Maybe he woke up for his son." Whether anyone believed it or not, the thought added another layer of drama to the story. As night fell again, the hospital became a stage lit by flashing cameras. T.I. was reportedly seen stepping outside once more, looking exhausted, his face marked by sleepless hours and constant worry. One witness claimed he whispered to himself, "Lord, let this be his second chance." Another said Tiny stood a few steps away, her hands trembling as she clutched her phone, scrolling endlessly through messages of support. Their pain, whether truly visible or just imagined by those watching, became a performance for the entire world to consume. Strangers who had never met them spoke of their heartbreak as if it were their own. The industry's silence became louder too. Rappers who had once called King family stayed quiet, while critics questioned whether the support was ever real. Fans kept a mental scoreboard, marking who posted and who didn't, treating it like a measure of loyalty. Every absence was taken as betrayal. Every vague sending prayers post dissected for hidden meaning. The chaos wasn't just about a hospital bed anymore. It became a reflection of loyalty, betrayal, and the messy reality of fame. Through it all, King's image loomed over the narrative. Clips of his past arrogance, his public outbursts, his humiliations. They played on loop, but this time they were viewed with a new lens. For some, they were evidence of downfall. For others, they were warning signs ignored. "We laughed when we should have worried," one fan admitted. "We clowned him instead of praying for him," another added. The sudden shift from mockery to sympathy was jarring, but it revealed the strange way the internet processes tragedy. Mock first, then mourn later, and yet, despite the chaos, one undeniable thread tied it all together: hope. Hope that he had really woken up. Hope that this scare would finally change him. Hope that T.I. and Tiny would reunite in strength instead of splitting apart in grief. Hope that the newborn child would one day grow up with a father who had survived the worst. Fans repeated the same word in comment after comment: hope. It was fragile, it was messy, but it was all they had. By the second night, the hospital scene had become larger than life. It wasn't just about one family anymore. It was about every parent and child locked in battle, every young life caught between privilege and pain, every story of redemption that the world desperately wanted to believe in. And as cameras flashed, as voices clashed, and as rumors swirled like smoke, one truth remained clear. This was no longer just a news story. This was a cautionary tale, a live soap opera, and a mirror held up to an entire culture that can't look away from chaos. And so the world waited. Waited for confirmation, waited for truth, waited for the next twist in a saga that had already given them everything: pain, betrayal, fear, hope, and the hint of a miracle. And now we're left with more questions than answers. Did King Harris truly wake up after that brutal jail attack? Or are we just watching rumors spin into legend? Witnesses claim they saw his eyes open. Some even say he spoke, asking for his father. T.I. was reportedly seen outside the hospital, tears streaming, praying for his son's life. Tiny begged fans for prayers. The streets whispered about betrayal. The industry stayed silent, and fans turned a family tragedy into the biggest story online. But beneath all the gossip and all the speculation, one thing is painfully clear. This is a family torn apart by choices, by pressure, by the heavy weight of fame. King's past mistakes have been replayed and mocked endlessly, but now, in the shadow of hospital lights, the laughter feels quieter. People are beginning to wonder, is this the wake-up call he needed? Or is it just another chapter in a story that keeps spiraling down? For T.I., the pain was raw. A father watching his son teeter between life and death, knowing he had warned him, knowing he had predicted this, but still praying desperately for another chance. For Tiny, it was heartbreak mixed with anger. A mother blaming the system, the streets, and maybe even her own family for letting it get this far. And for King, if he truly did wake up, the question now is simple. What will he do with this second chance? So what do you think? Is this the beginning of King Harris's redemption arc? Or is it only a temporary pause before another fall? Fans are divided, emotions are running high, and the story is far from over. Make sure you drop your thoughts in the comments below. Hit that like button if you want to see the full truth uncovered, and subscribe for more updates on this unbelievable saga. Because one thing's for sure, the world is watching every move.